What's going on, folks? Once again, I'm Nev from the Riot Review. Today we're doing a special focus on the morning edition of the riot in Austin, Texas. Not Atlanta. Yesterday I was calling it Atlanta. No, Austin, Texas. Anyways, the protest started up at a meeting point and then took the streets over to until they got to the police precinct. This all started up as a defund the police march. I believe that the friction started when the protesters started shutting down roads. When you start shutting down roads, then the police seem to get involved. Okay, I'm just recognizing this area over here to the left. They were kind of camping out over there. The police had to bust them out of there. And I do believe that this is why the police got involved, because the streets were being shut down. Peaceful though it is, you never know who needs to get through on those roads. There's a lot of people who can't afford an ambulance ride and will take a car, take a taxi all the way to the hospital, because you know how expensive it is to take an ambulance. You really don't know who needs to get through that road. You just shouldn't be doing this stuff. This isn't how we win friends and influence people. So later we have that same street and the police. I believe this is the police and the federal agents. Now in Portland the federal agents wore camo, and if these are feds, I don't think they're wearing camo. But they're just about to walk into the protesters area. And they already got giant freaking horses here by this point. I should have known in Texas they would have giant freaking horses, but these things are huge. So about the snipers, nothing came of the snipers. Nobody heard about any snipers. It seems like it was just Twitter sensationalism, just people who are really upset. A lot of the protesters here don't realize that there's a lot of people in the area that just can't comprehend. There's a lot of people everywhere that just can't comprehend what's going on, and when you bring fear and intimidation tactics to them, to their streets, it really upsets them because they don't know how to deal with it. They can't comprehend it. They just can't get their minds around it. Young guys won't understand it so much, but when you get old, you get really set in your ways, and your brain gets really used to things, and it's just not good to jump these folks the wrong way. Now I'm saying that because we do have this problem in Portland. Locally, Antifa has stopped hitting the federal courthouse and has started going into the suburbs. And once again, you just have some people out there that you got crazy people out there. Canada, USA, both places kind of abandoned mentally incompetent people, or I shouldn't say that, but people that need help. In about the 70s, they totally defunded them. You know where they are? They're in the suburbs. They're out here. You jump in their backyard, you start smashing windows, man. That's not good. That wouldn't be good. Ultimately, there was no big thing. There was no big show. Some of the protesters broke into 3 different groups, and I think there was about 20 arrests. Here we see a quick glimpse of some of the guys going around with guns, but you know, a protest in Texas, you know they would have to involve guns. They're definitely there. But what I can appreciate about this is I don't see these guys as being Antifa. I see these guys as being anti-fascist. They're not using black bloc methods, and I think to be true Antifa, you have to use black bloc methods, and that means you have a black hoodie. Everybody looks exactly the same. It doesn't seem to be the thing here at all. It seems that you could pretty much pick all these individuals out if you had to in a lineup with what these guys are wearing. These guys have a point, and perhaps they are anti-fascist, or heck, perhaps they are fascist. You definitely see 2 different kinds of groups here, but mostly you definitely see more supporters and police. You don't run across many people that you think are white supremacists, but there are a few that you could be pretty sure of. I think the biggest lesson that can be learned here is don't block the streets. It seems to be a good way to get yourself into trouble. We have so many live streamers. I have combed through so much. And Oh, sorry about that. Anyways, this live streamer just goes right up to a cop and she's like, hey, high five. And she's talking to two live streamers, two protesters right now. They're being super friendly, super friendly. I have not seen a protest like this go around. And the protest videos I've seen in Portland, protest riot videos that I've seen in Portland and Seattle, if there were cops like this that were cool like this, and if the protesters were cool like this, I would not have even had an interest in making YouTube videos about this, because this seems totally under control. You got protesters that feel harshly, that feel strongly about what's going on, and you got giant police, and nobody looks like they want to cause a scene. You're not getting so many people screaming at the police, but you're not seeing police grabbing things from other people. And geez, this this policewoman, she's not too bad on the eyes, I gotta say. Of course, we gotta give a shout out to our best dressed protester. I imagine this is a protester. Definitely, I'm loving that top. Loving the patriot hits. Just, yeah, that's some good stuff. We need more protesters like this. You know, I think this is the goddess of the protest. She came down and bestowed her bosoms upon the protest and blessed it with such an awesome dress, and because of it, everyone had a giant smile. In my opinion. Look at the Fox News guy, just zooms right in on it. He knows what people wants to see. This is from a Fox News live stream, by the way. But seriously, that top, that's gotta be like lingerie. There's no way a woman could expect to wear that out at any given time. But I totally endorse it. I totally endorse any woman wearing this anytime they want. How does she not fall out of that? She can't be a protester. Those things would bounce right out. You know, I bet her boyfriend, it looks like she was with her boyfriend here. I bet her boyfriend, yeah, zoom back on him, there he is in the green. I bet he's like totally conservative, but she is so hot and she's so crazy that she's worth it anyways. I bet that's what they're talking about right now. He's like, you know, she's freaking crazy. Yeah, but you know, you see those things, she's worth it. So ultimately, definitely a peaceful protest compared to stuff going on north of the border. It seems like people still have their heads screwed on straight, more or less, when it comes to protests. It all seems to have ended at about 11 o'clock. More than 100 Austin officers, many mounted on horsebacks and bicycles, and state troopers in riot gear, arrived to face the angry crowd. Okay, so there are no federal agents. They don't need no federal agents in Texas. Faced an angry crowd that spilled into Congress Avenue and 14th Street in downtown Austin Saturday night as a march against police violence that started at the University of Texas ended. Crowds swelled near the site of memorial for Garrett Foster, who was fatally shot during a protest a week ago. About 9 p.m. officers arrived in force. I bet this is about Garrett Foster and the fact that his shooter was released, but it is totally understandable. I mean, it is Texas. A few protesters scuffled with officers Saturday night, and authorities sought to detain an individual. The gathering was mostly non-violent, however. Protest organizers said police detained around 20 people. A police department spokesman told the American Statesman he couldn't immediately confirm how many arrests the officers made. But yeah, here's a timeline of the whole thing. Once again, links to everything is going to be in the description. And if you don't like my point of view, then you can make your own with the raw data. But man, I went over hours of footage. Lots going on. But the thing is, you could go through all kinds of footage all day long, and your experience would be different from someone who was actually there, that's seen something that wasn't recorded, and that type of stuff does actually happen. So I gotta say, there were definitely intimidations. There were people yelling at police. But for the most part, they managed to keep things together a lot better than they had in the northern states. Once again, check out links in the description. I'll leave all of the raw data, all of the live streams. There's hours of information, hours of footage. You can go through it yourself and come to your own conclusions. By the way, I think that this guy getting jumped is one of the protesters that was throwing rocks at the police. I do believe that that's why certain people got taken. But just because they were taken doesn't mean they weren't released. Is a catch and release system going on in some places. Anyways, have a good one, folks, and take care of each other.